Okay, so hello and welcome back to another Unity tutorial. In this video we're going to be continuing with the RPG Systems tutorial series. In the last video we set up some of the code, most of the code for the NPC system to get it going at least. So we had the base NPC class that then had a list of occupations, and then we started making the first occupation, which was the vendor, because we've already obviously done the item system, so it makes sense to do vendors first. So what we plan on doing in this video is building the UI so that when we interact with an NPC it pops open this UI displaying all the data about the NPC, so the name, their greeting text and what they do. And then from there we can then make it so when we click on the button for them being a vendor, we then get another window pop up that then shows their inventory and ours. I think next video we'll actually do the coding for like selling and buying items and stuff. I don't want to fit too much into this video, that'll take a long time. So let's just focus on the UI this video, and then we have to write a little bit of code to get the UI linked up, but it shouldn't be too much work. So let's get into it now. But of course first I've got to thank the people who helped me keep this regular content coming, with special thanks to Flowstate Games, Average Morning, Buddha, Remy Baldwin and Phil Baum. If anyone else is able to help support the channel monetarily, the link is down below to my Patreon page. Otherwise there are links down below to my Twitter, Twitch, Discord and so on. So if you want to go help me out on social media, that would be greatly appreciated. Now let's get into the video. Okay, so when I start UI, I usually just make an empty game object. We're going to call it NPC UI. Then we'll reset it to the center, put it on the UI layer, go and add a canvas to it. And then this canvas can be called like canvas underscore NPC. We're going to make it scale screen size, there we go, 1920 by 1080 is my resolution, match height, graphic raycaster on so we can interact with it, all is good to go. Then we're going to add an image to it for a background, and we're going to go scale that to be, perhaps, we want the width of maybe 900, maybe 1000, height 800. I mean obviously you don't have to center it, you could have it go up to about here, be like 860. It's really up to you how big you want the UI. The only thing to keep in mind is when you resize to a different resolution, you want to make sure it fits. So if anything, go to a 5x4 resolution and then scale it for that. So for example, make the width, 1 to 50. Make the height. When you're speaking to the NPC, you don't really need your hotbar. You got to think about those kind of things, right? If you don't need your hotbar when you're speaking to the NPC, then you can cover it, I guess. It's not really that big of a deal. Just obviously make sure to set the canvas on a different layer. What I'd do actually right now is I'd go to full and then bring it in by like a certain padding, right? So maybe 50 on either side, and then set it to center. So now we've got 50 padding whenever we're in the smallest resolution. I'll change the canvas order in a second. And then when we go to a normal resolution like this, it fits as well. It looks okay like this. It's using up a pretty big portion of the screen. The problem is if we used actual scaling and put the anchors on the corners, then we'd have to take that into consideration when designing every single part of the UI. Oh, will this fit if it gets squished and so on. You'll notice that most games will just make it so it fits perfectly on like a small resolution. So when people have a bigger resolution, width-wise, there's just extra space on the side, which isn't a big deal at all. Either that or they just won't care about people on smaller monitors, but you want to make your game so as many people as possible can play it without complaining about UI issues. Let's change this sort order to be on top. So what did I put the different sort orders as? The hotbar's on 100, the inventory's on 200, and that's on 400. So I'm kind of wanting this to be even more than that. So I'm going to put this on 600. Okay, and then this is just going to be background for the NPC. And we'll make it a grayish, like so. Then on the background, we're just going to split it up into the different things we need. So for example, we want to display the name of the person, so it makes sense just to go and put this text perhaps at the top center, and we're obviously going to have a close button as well for when we want to exit with it, but we'll worry about that later as well. Let's just say the NPC's name might be Bob. This is the kind of text you want to be centered. So we're going to just do it like this. What most people will do on this kind of UI is they'll scale it as max on the width, because the thing is you don't have to worry about it actually changing size because you've said it doesn't scale. The size doesn't change. Let's dock it to the top center. Put the pivot Y pivot 1. So now that's 0, 0, 0. And then you just choose the height. So if I put 90 and then change the font size to be maybe 100, we've got Bob. Now maybe obviously you want some more padding than that, for example. Maybe go put the height as 125. And then you're happy with the person's name there. You might want to even put a background on that text, but we're not going to worry about the fidelity of that. You guys can design your own UI. Then we want basically to have some intro text. So let's just duplicate the text, put that below it maybe, give it some more room, maybe this much, shrink the font size down to 50. Is that readable? Yeah, it is. That's readable. And then all we want here is just to type some long text. So let's just basically be like, yeah. Now, I guess we could do auto size, but set the max to 50 now, just in case for some reason we gave someone a really long intro text. And I'm going to say bring the width down by 50 and bring the height down. Not by 50, no, the height's fine. I just wanted it not to touch the sides of the thing. And obviously, yeah, as I said, you could put some, around here, some background panel. Just for now, I'm going to make the name underlined, so we have that. So now we've got his name and his intro text. And then below that, we're going to want his list of occupations, I guess. So, as I said, this video isn't going to be about making it look nice, we're just going to make it work. So if I duplicate, actually we don't want to duplicate text, let's call this text underscore NPC, or text underscore, yeah, NPC name, text underscore NPC greeting. Okay, and then we'll make an empty game object which is going to hold the buttons. So I guess, just for now, I'm just going to use the entire rest of the size of the thing. I can make that scale to the bottom, the link to the bottom, with the Y pivot of 0. So now it's just a height thing. And goes to 615. And then in here we want to, this is just going to be the, I'll call it occupations, I don't know what to actually call the entire thing right now, but this is going to have a vertical layout group in my case. And on there we'll have some buttons, right? So some UI, Text Mesh Pro buttons, for example. Maybe he'll have like 3 occupations. If he has 3 occupations, we then want to say at the middle center, width and height, but then we also want padding of maybe 50 on every side. I'm no good at UI design, and yeah, so just take this with a pinch of salt. We'll call this like let's trade, right? We do want to use auto size on the buttons, I guess, because the button sizes will vary. Actually, I mean, we could keep it constant. I think we should keep it constant. Let's not scale like that. We should set the buttons to have their own size. So I'm happy with the width, but I want the height of the buttons to be like 150. Now, how many are we going to have before it becomes a problem, right? 4. An occupation, are they going to have 4 at one point? Probably. So they don't need to have this padding actually written on it. We'll keep the spacing there, that's important. Let's tell the button your height is actually just 100, right? Or not 1000. Okay. How many can we fit now? 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't look that good though. Let's just turn down the spacing to be like 25. Can we fit a 5th? Can we fit a 6? No. I mean, they have the natural spacing anyway, so I mean, I'm fine with that for now. You know, you guys can fiddle with the UI. So for this button, we're gonna call it button underscore occupation. And I'm gonna tell the text to use the fallback thing. Let's trade. We'll make the font size bigger to be 84, I guess. we'll call it text underscore occupation. So now all we really need to do is put a script on here for the occupation, and when we click the button, we tell the occupation to do its thing, essentially. So let's get into that. Actually, before we do that, we should make the button be a prefab, so we can spawn those buttons in. And obviously we need to put a script on them, and we'll sort that out on the prefab, so we can get rid of that now. And we'll go write the scripts quickly. So if we go to assets, scripts, NPC, so we're gonna write a script for NPC UI, and then I guess occupations, it makes sense to write the occupation button like so. So I'm just going to go set these up with the boilerplate code, you know, the namespace and stuff, so you guys can do that too. I'm just going to skip to when I've done that. I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, I've set them both up. Let's do the NPC UI first. So we're going to have a serialized field, private, and want a text mesh pro UGUI, NPC name text. So let's just import that. And then we'll duplicate that line. NPC greeting text. And what we want to do for the NPC UI, when we interact with the NPC, we want to essentially listen for that. And then we'll have the UI basically say, hey, fill in this data, right? So we're going to have public void, like set NPC or something. I'll take in an NPC, obviously. And then maybe you want to have the current NPC stored on here. I don't think you really need to do that. We'll do that if we need to, but for now I don't think we do. So let's do everything in this function, then we can spread it out if we need to. So the NPC name text.text is equal to the NPC dot. Now we aren't able to get their name. The name you just saw there was not actually their name. So we're going to want to have the getters up here. So we're going to say public string name returns name, public string greeting text returns, I'll make sure to capitalize that in a second, greeting text, so we'll make that a G. Is that happy? Cool. We've got their name now. NPC greeting text.text is equal to NPC dot greeting text. Cool, so we've set the UI. Now we need to do the buttons, which is obviously still part of the UI, but yeah. We need to set a prefab here. So private game object, occupation button prefab, right? So that's something we're going to need to make in a second. Well, we've already made the prefab, we need to put the code on it. With that occupation button prefab, I said in the previous video we're going to make a pooling system, but you know, I don't want this video to drag on too long, so for now we're just going to spawn in and destroy the buttons. It'll be simple. So what we want to do is we want to have a transform that we're going to attach them to, essentially. The holder, so transform occupation button holder. So what we can do is when we start here, we can just say for each transform child in occupation button holder, destroy child dot game object. So that will basically get rid of any buttons we already have. This will become pooling at some point, and then we need to now say for every occupation they have, spawn in a button and initialize it. So I'll use a normal for loop for this. I think I like using normal for loops instead of for each loops if I can help it. I think in this case there might be a way to do it with for loop, but it's much easier that way. So we're going to say, yeah, well, I is less than the NPC dot occupations. So obviously, apparently we haven't made the occupations available to us. So obviously we need to be able to grab those. Yep. Okay. Public occupation. Oh, public I occupation array occupations returns occupations. So now we can go grab those. So for every occupation dot length, we want to instantiate the button. So the occupation prefab button with a parent of occupation button holder, and that's basically it. We want to say game object button instance. We're going to cache the button we've just spawned in there, and then on the next line we want to say button instance dot get component. We want to get the component occupation button dot initialize, which you haven't written yet, but initialize, and then we just want to pass in npc dot occupations I, because what a button is going to want is the occupation it represents, so you basically give it that occupation. So right now we are done here, I guess. So we just need to now write that occupation function. We've basically spawned in the button and set the component on it. That should be good to go for now. So we go back here, the occupation button is going to need reference to some text as well, private text mesh pro UGUI, and we're going to have this occupation name text. I'll get this text mesh pro in, so we can set the name text, and then we also want to store a private occupation for the this occupation. So I occupation equals null. We'll have a public void for initialize that will take in an I occupation, and we're simply just going to set this dot occupation is the occupation you passed us. So now the other script should be happy. Yep. And once we've set our occupation, keep in mind we're a button, so we want a function we're going to call to trigger this button. So we're just going to say like trigger occupation maybe. Okay, so now we're going to say trigger occupation. We just want to say occupation dot, and then we need a function on an I occupation essentially to do your thing, right? So we're just going to say or we could hard code it because all the occupations are going to raise the same thing. Let me just think. No, I think it still makes sense to do it this way. So we're just going to have a void trigger. So this button just basically stores an occupation and triggers it when we press the button, right? So it's kind of simple. It doesn't do that much. It doesn't know about what it's doing. It just knows it's got to listen for a button, press, and say call a function. Okay, let's go to the game and set this up. So if we go to our prefab, we got compile error. Okay, so we need in here, now in the item holder, to have a trigger function. So public void trigger. Now everyone's happy. So for example, right, we can now just say debug.log item names, and then get rid of this data, I guess. That was just a temporary thing I did to show last video. So if I go to the occupation stuff, we don't need that data string. It's kind of pointless. Is everyone happy? Except the NPC when we speak to him, you know, we don't even need this this logging anymore. We just want to raise an event, okay? So we're going to raise an event. Let's set up the other stuff in the UI there. If we go to prefabs and go to the hotbar, the button occupation even, we want to say add an occupation button. When we interact with this, we're going to say occupation button dot trigger occupation, and then the text component is the text on me. So that's all set up for that button, except I don't like having that automatic thing on. Should be good to go. And we'll take off the UI sprite thing. Alright, yeah, so this is going to go into a part 3 definitely, where we actually do we'll do the vendor stuff in the next video. This is just the NPC UI. So we want to make sure the button spawns in. Let's go back to the NPC UI. and set up the NPC UI script on it. So the NPC name text is there, the NPC greeting text is there, occupation button holder is that, and then the prefab is that. Let's just rename this to be holder underscore occupations, and I guess we can give it a go. We do need to make an event though quickly. The last thing to this video is make an event, right? So I'm going to go and do it off camera because I'll just take ages, but just remember, like you've done in the past when we've made game events, obviously if you get confused you can go check my GitHub for the event code, but in reality all we do is go into each of these event folders and make a new data type one. We're going to do it for NPC now. So for example, right, if we close all, so let's open this. In custom events, just like for example the item container event, you just want to duplicate it and then rename it to be NPC event. And then you just want to change this to be new NPC event. Item container event is now NPC event. NPC is the class. Game events, NPC event. And then you just do the imports that you need, get rid of the old ones. And just do that in each of the files, just replace whatever the other class is with NPC, so then we make an NPC event system. So I'll see you back in a minute. Okay, I've done. So this is the Unity event class, the listener, the normal, that's the event class, whoops. The NPC listener class is all happy, and then the NPC event class is happy. So when we interact with the NPC, let's just let this compile. The NPC UI has now an NPC listener, and we need to go make the event, right? So if we go back to game events, we'll make a folder for like NPCs or NPC. So game event, NPC event, game event underscore NPC underscore start interaction. Right, so this listens for when we start an NPC interaction. So when we start an NPC interaction, what do we want to do? NPC UI dot set NPC, and then we also will set the canvas to be, well, game object set active true. Obviously we don't have a way to close out of it, so we're actually going to go and use our already made prefab button close. Just go put it on the background. Boom, it already locks itself to the top right. And all we want to say is on click we want to drag in the canvas, say canvas game object set active false. Cool. I'm actually going to go into here and just quickly change that to be none. Save. Okay, the UI's just apparently disappeared, but it's fine. It's just one of those weird bugs with prefabs. Alright, let's go put the NPC UI up where the rest is. So let's just minimize all the others. Go drag this UI up. Make the canvas not active by default. And the only thing we need to do now is call the event that we just made, essentially. So we're going to make an event on the NPC interactable thing. So on an NPC, on interact, we want to have an event that we trigger, essentially. So I'm actually going to go put the event at the top. So we're going to have a serialized field private NPC event. Okay, called on interact, or like start interaction. Okay, now we have to obviously pull in the namespace, and now we can just say there dot invoke or dot raise even. We have to pass in an NPC, so we pass in this class, the one we are representing. So now we're basically saying, hey guys, here's the data on this NPC. This is me. And one actually good way to do this is go to the NPC class itself and just set the event manually through here, so that any NPC class we now make on someone already has that field set for us. No need to drag it in every single time. And we're good to go. Obviously this one we have to do it manually because we'd already dragged it in. This one already existed in the scene, but any new ones we make will have it set. And theoretically now it should work, so let's give it a go. So I'm going to walk up to this, interact, got our inventory, got our items. I'm gonna walk up to Bob. We've got Bob, hello adventurer, let's trade. I click on trade and it debugs his items. And then obviously I can close it and walk away. All we need to do now with that is basically, in the next video, make a window for doing trading separately and then set the trading code up there. But we've actually got the NPC code basically set up now, so we can make another NPC next to him. Just as a quick test, we can put another NPC in the scene. We'll put the other NPC next to him. This NPC, we're just gonna, for now, call him Bill. Go away. Or maybe he's quite annoying. Or maybe he's not annoying, maybe he's annoyed at us, I don't know. You get the point. We're going to have a different NPC with different data. Like, hello adventurer, let's trade. Walk over here. Go Bill, go away. And let's just say as well that this second NPC, the Bill one, doesn't actually have any occupations. Let's just say, for example, he doesn't have any occupations. Now when we walk up to them, he's got let's trade button. We can go away. We go over here. He doesn't have any occupations, right? The UI will obviously make it look better than that, or you guys can make it look better, but now it works. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you're looking forward to the next video where we start doing the actual selling and trading with the NPC. What else have I got to say? Well, obviously social media links are all down below. Join the Discord server if you want help or if you want to give help. It's greatly appreciated. Check out my live streams. Tomorrow it's every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. But apart from that, thanks for watching this video. I'll see you next time, and goodbye.